Okay, thank you everybody. Welcome to this web workshop, 7th web workshop, and this is the final day. I would like to invite Professor Bijoli Bhattacharya, Honorable Board of Studies member of the University of Kolkata, and Professor Parthapratim Bandyopadhyay, Honorable Board of Studies member of University of Kolkata, and it is great pleasure, privilege, and honor for all of us present here that Professor Sharmila Majumdar, faculty at the Department of English University of Kolkata, has agreed to be the discussion of this event today. I invite Professor Bijoli Bhattacharya, Professor Parthapratim Bandyopadhyay, and Professor Sharmila Majumdar to the panel discussion, which will be on UG syllabus, better learning, and exam preparations. Before that, I was thinking along the lines the limitations or the limitations of this interactional dynamic of knowledge production, or the closures of the pedagogic structures. I was thinking along that line because this workshop is absolutely centered on some kind of disturbances there still. Basically centered on the students and the syllabus. Unlike the webinars happening all across the country, where this interactional dialogue has been somehow obfuscated and creating a kind of fuzzy domain, because the interactional dynamic between the receiver and the giver and the receiver is somehow producing a kind of fuzzy domain. But unlike these webinars, this workshop is a serious attempt, a very clear and crystalline attempt to be by remaining learner-centric or syllabus-centric. How much imperfect it is. This surely and truly has its own limitations. But I was thinking something yesterday. I was having a conversation with Professor Gayatri Chakraborty Spivak about the course of learning in the rural schools, and she was constantly focusing on or emphasizing, concentrating on the thing that we need to insert ourselves into the environment, and we need to think of more of the focus, emphasize more on the textual rather than the structural. She is talking about the very particularities and peculiarities of the textual that have to be included, that have to be focused, concentrated on, rather than the structural. So if we think of the limitations or closures of this pedagogic system that is happening, happening through this online event, that in the opening day, when we were discussing on Emily Dickinson, we were mainly focusing on the private and the personal life of Dickinson thrown into that dynamic of the political, into that political public space. We were discussing a lot on the political life and private life of the woman, the making of an intellectual woman, also creating a kind of dynamic with the political. But when we were discussing on, as against that, discussing on Mahashweta Devi's Draupadi, we didn't talk about Dobdi Medhen and Kullan Das, Professor Kullan Das, who discussed on the text, he was not properly articulating Mehen. He was constantly articulating it Mehen. It's just like Mexico, a Mexican las. But today I inquired of that, asked a self-educated man from Birbhum, Ujjal Lohar, who beautifully explained what the Mejen is, what the term Mejen implies. That is the feminine gender of Machi, the boatman. This is absolutely familiar and very organically linked, connected to our everyday, quotidian, ordinary, day-to-day living. But it undergoes a kind of serious transformation through textual reading, or a textual transformation happened, or alienation happened through the course of the study, through the course of the analysis. So we have to attain this particularity or peculiarity of the moment, peculiarities that has to be attended. That is to be attended, discussed, focused, and concentrated on. Without this, we cannot move beyond the structure of this pedagogy and reach the learners. So this is like a train track. An electric train moves along the track and it stops where the track ends. It cannot move along the alleys. So that creative impulses, that imaginative faculties are to be trained in that way, so that we can move beyond that pedagogic, beyond that structure, that oriented, prescribed, structured form of thinking, or in a better way, or in a broader perspective, way of being. That is to be attended, discussed, and thought of seriously. So with this note, I would invite Professor Parthapratim Bandyopadhyay and Professor Bijoli Bhattacharya to discuss on the UG syllabus, better learning and exam preparations. I also request and invite Professor Sharmila Majumdar to join in the discussion. Thank you.
Ivan, am I audible? Hello.
Yes.
Then who is supposed to begin the talking? Me or somebody else?
Vijolidi, kindly unmute yourself.
Bijolidi is here and Professor Majumdar is here, I presume. Hello. Bijolidi, can you hear me? Bijolidi. Bijolidi, can you hear me?
Vijolidi, kindly unmute yourself.
Bijolidi, unmute yourself and respond.
Partha, you are supposed to begin with.
I'm supposed to. And
yes.
Is Professor Majumdar here? Is Professor Sharmila Majumdar here also? Is Professor Sharmila Majumdar here also? Anirban, can you see her? Can you locate her on the platform?
Yes, yes, yes.
She's also here.
She is there.
So,
yes.
Okay, then good afternoon to everyone here on this platform. At the outset, before we go into the discussion proposed about the syllabus, let me take this opportunity to congratulate the Department of English, Santipur College, for organizing, for hosting for these last 7 days, a wonderful workshop that has come to use to both the students and the teaching community. I have been the lecture right from day one, and this is day 7, the final day. And I have found that these lectures have been really extremely useful for students. It has provided food for thought in many ways and provided insights, deep insights into the text, ways in which within our CBCS curriculum, we are supposed to read the texts. Uh, each day's discussion has been enlivened by the question answer sessions at the end. And altogether, uh, I thank and congratulate the Department of English for being uh, for being the hosts of such a useful week. I think this should go out to students of other colleges and faculty members in other colleges who have not been registered participants here. Uh, I think this will come to use for the whole of the student community in the under the purview of Kolani University. So I would like to thank Professor Anirban Bhattacharya and his whole team who have been organizing this. Now, I am here supposed to initiate a discussion. Uh, the title of the discussion, as Anirban said just now, was Better Learning and Examination Preparations. And I'm supposed to initiate the discussion because I suppose there is probably 150 or more than that of participants here. And probably they are equally divided between students and teachers. And I wish that the discussion would be uh, as polyphonic as possible. As many voices that come up, I know there are colleagues from other colleges, my colleagues who are on this platform now. And I wish everybody to express their opinions and their queries and all so that we can really have an interactive workshop today. So initiating that, what I would like to do is briefly lay out the discussions, or even am I visible too now?
Yes.
Or even am I visible?
Yes.
And I'm audible. My voice is getting a club properly.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. I will briefly try to lay out a few areas on which the discussion I think should probably go on. We are addressing texts. We have been dealing with texts and addressing even today the honors papers, honors courses in the semester 3 and the semester 5. So we will largely restrict our discussions to these two semester papers. Semester 3 has 3 papers: American literature, popular literature, and British poetry and drama of the 17th and 18th centuries. And semester 5 has actually 5 papers, out of which a student has to study 4. There are 2 core papers out of these. One is a paper on women's writing, out of which several lectures have happened in this present workshop. And the other one is British literature of the early 20th century. There are 3 other DSE papers, out of which a student has to choose 2. Now, the 3 DSE papers are, I will read the titles out consecutively. There is a modern Indian writing in English paper, and then the British literature after the Second World War, post World War II, that is. And there is another paper titled Literary Criticism. Now, out of these 3, these are DSE papers. The university curriculum, the university syllabus offers a choice of 2 out of these 3. So each student or maybe each teaching department has to make a choice of 2 papers out of these 3 DSE papers. So there are therefore 3 semester 3 papers and 5 semester 5 papers, total 8, that will come under our discussion today. All of us, we know the contents of the syllabus, so I'm not going into that nitty-gritty again. But there are plenty of questions which have been plaguing us for several months regarding how to teach, how to study, how to prepare for the examinations over these papers. And this, we all know, is a semesterized CBCS course into which we have stepped very recently, so that we do not have a long precedence, we do not have established practices upon which we can build, and we are in many ways still in an experimental phase within this country. And of course, therefore, there are plenty of questions that are rigging us every day, teachers and students. And this workshop will be, I think, an attempt to address those questions and try to find out answers, or at least approach answers. Now, looking into the papers, what I'll be saying will be concerned with the semester 3 and semester 5 papers, but will also probably largely be true about the rest of the syllabus, that is from semester 1 to semester 6. Looking at these papers, the first thing that strikes me, and probably strikes many of you also, is that the papers are varied in the quantity of their content, and the papers have a basic difference regarding the period or the area that it covers. There are some papers which cover a definite literary or historical period. Texts are chosen out of that period and offered for study. Whereas there are other papers like, for example, women's writing or popular literature, which do not do that. The texts within those papers are united by probably a common theoretical perspective. Now, in neither of these papers, neither of these 2 sorts of papers, is there a component of literary or social or cultural or political history of any kind, which had been a conventional part in the syllabuses we dealt with earlier. Now, in spite of that, the contents of these papers, whether they are based upon a fixed, a definite historical period, or whether they have just a theoretical unity among them, whatever, as we leaf through the contents of each paper, we will probably all come to realize that a kind of reading of literary as well as socio-cultural history is presumed as a background to the study of the texts in each paper. Now, this is one area, I think, in which we need to think about and brainstorm. And then, if we enter each paper, we will see there are 3 sections to each paper. The first section is an assortment of texts which are divided into 2 groups, Group A and Group B. And here let me point out that there is no other categorical difference. This is especially something which I want the students to remember, that there is no other categorical difference between the texts Group A and in Group B, other than the value of the questions to be set upon them. There is no other difference. This I am saying with special emphasis because a misconception is going around the circles for some time now that texts in the Group A are meant for detailed study, whereas those in Group B, being larger in size, are meant for non-detailed study, and that means that students will not have to read the texts with any importance or emphasis. This is not at all the intention of the syllabus, and if I may take the liberty of speaking on behalf of the Board of Studies to which I belong, this is also not the intention of the Board of Studies, the Undergraduate Board of Studies of the University of College. Each text, whether it belongs to Group A or Group B, has to be studied with equal emphasis and importance. Now, the first section of the 3 in each paper is a collection of texts. Then, there are a certain set of topics in each paper meant for class presentations. Now, I would request the House today to discuss upon how we can make use or maybe add upon these class presentation topics. They will have some relevance to the kind of questions that will be set in the examinations. And then finally, there is a set of texts, again, excerpts and sometimes whole pieces, which are given as suggested reading. Now, these are mostly works of literary theory or socio-cultural philosophical treatises, out of which the makers of the syllabus intend the student to make up a theoretical perspective and place the texts within that paper within that theoretical perspective, use that perspective as a tool of understanding the texts. Now, this part, I'm afraid, and there are probably very valid reasons for this, this part is probably not being very much dealt with in the actual classroom situation. I know there are limitations, plenty of them, and on top of that, these treatises, learned theoretical texts, are not also always very readily available to the student. And given the time frame within which the undergraduate classroom has to operate, it is probably impossible for both the student and the teacher to deal with these suggested readings with enough time or enough attention after dealing with the texts which are of compulsory reading. Now, this again, I would propose to be a point of thought in our discussion today about how we can make this list of suggested readings operative, how we can make them accessible and understandable, comprehensible to the student, how we can enable the student with skills or acumen to use the inputs from these suggested texts in interpreting and preparing their answers. Whether we can, and if we can, how? These are the questions I would like to throw up regarding this. And there are a few more things which one or two more things which I need to emphasize about this syllabus. And then there are other things which I have thought up regarding the examinations, but which I will prefer to say in a later phase of it. To finish off my early introductory opinion, I would say this, that the syllabus throughout, not just the 3rd and 5th semesters, is student-centric. It is the student who is at the focal point, at the center of the syllabus. It is the student who has to study the texts themselves and nothing bypassing that. And probably the intention behind the syllabus is that the student will use each text as an entry point to the socio-cultural and literary history and for that matter, the theoretical understanding of literature. To these things, the texts will function as entry points. Students are supposed to study the texts and do some contextual study and then prepare themselves for class presentations, or we can look at these class presentations in under other terms, and then finally face the examination. We also know that within this semesterized framework, there is a provision of internal assessments twice within the semester. Now, during these internal assessments, these topics of class presentations can be permutated and combined and made use of in some manner. Now, with this, I think I would return to Anirban and keep up my thoughts on the examinations and the question patterns for a later part of the discussion. Anirban, can somebody else pick up now and carry on the discussion?
Yeah, Professor Bhattacharya.
Vijayalidhi, are you there? Probably. Vijayalidhi, please unmute yourself.
Vijayalidhi, please unmute yourself. We can't locate you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Can you hear me now? But okay.
Yes.
So thank you, Anirban, and I have heard each and every word of Professor Banerjee. He has touched almost every issue of the syllabus, the CBCS system, semester-wise syllabus, and particularly on the 3rd semester and the 5th semester. And this afternoon, as the clock strikes 3 p.m., I have just to be out of my comfortable cocoon. And now as I look around, I feel very happy in the midst of so many learned and erudite teachers, scholars, and students. And once again, Anirban, thank you. Now, this panel discussion is going to address the problems regarding the syllabus and the examination pattern, the question pattern, all these things that to address their problems, the students, particularly as Parthipratim has already said that the syllabus is student-centric and the focal point at the center of the syllabus are the students. And now because it is an important platform, and in view of this pandemic that is affecting particularly the students and the teachers and this academia, this is another, this question also arises in me that whether that this online mode of teaching learning process will continue or just will coexist with the offline classroom teaching and learning. I think that that will be a good complement if the offline classroom teaching starts and this online mode of teaching continues simultaneously, and it must not have a stop. This pandemic has given us, as I have heard the other day from that, these are the worst of times and these are the best of times. So let us make the best use of this pandemic situation, particularly for the students and the teachers. And now, as Professor Banerjee has said, that the students, particularly this syllabus, this syllabus is divided. It is scattered, or it is divided among so many diverse subjects and so many diverse issues. Whatnot. There is Indian literature, there is Indian classical literature, European literature, American literature, and literature in translation. And the students have to be exposed in a very early stage of their just education. They are perhaps fortunately they are exposed to such a vast plethora of knowledge. This knowledge that is they are just accumulating, or they are having as in their syllabus, the all sorts of textbooks, etc. And we also need to this is a time to reflect, and we know that all the students and teachers as well, they are coming from diverse sections of socio-cultural background, and we cannot make, it is a regrettable fact that we cannot make the classroom till March last that very conducive environment for imparting knowledge or to the students, because the time is very short and the syllabus is vast. And within the very short span of time, the students are exposed to a vast syllabus that they have to cover within this short span of time. And it is left to the students that they must read all the texts, not only the short poems or the short stories or the short essays, but they are required to study, rigorously all the texts, particularly the novels, the plays, and the excerpts that are the various extracts and excerpts that are given, either it is religious treatise or political treatise or everything, whatever. So this they have to read, and they have to focus, as Parthapratim has pointed out, that particular section, the classroom presentation. There are several topics and they are very enlightening. And if the students are allowed, I very much agree with him, if the students are very much allowed to do projects, to write up, or to give, to submit write up, or to submit their presentation on those topics, and those topics may be covered in the examination system as well. The questions may come, the questions may be set from those classroom presentation that is given in the syllabus, just with the students, and perhaps we too, sometimes we tend to ignore them. When we are reading Agatha Christie, or when the graphic novel, yes, we have to do something with the graphic novel, the history, the teachers do that. But for the students, the questions, they must need, they are required to focus, and the teachers, it is the duty of the teachers to make the students familiar with all the given uh, classroom, the topics given in the second section of the syllabus, that is the classroom representation. And this classroom representation, the topics that are there, even if they do not, all the students, as Parthapratim has rightly pointed out, that in our earlier syllabus, there was the students are exposed to Old English literature, Middle English literature, Elizabethan literature. This is how it was segmented. But now this syllabus is not segmented, well segmented. And the students will have a knowledge from these classroom presentation topics of the socio-cultural political background of the period that they are covering in the particular syllabus, that paper, whether it is fifth paper or sixth paper or seventh paper, and the literary ideas that are there, and the texts should be read in the perspective of those, in the context of those literary theory. Otherwise, they will, if the theories are left, or the students are left unfamiliar with these theories, they will not be able to just make it up in their PG syllabus, in their higher studies. And with this note, that I would like to, and as Parthapratim has also said, that the texts should be, or Anirban has rightly pointed out, as he mentioned his conversation with Srimati Chakraborty Sprivak, that the texts should be read not in isolation, but they should be read thoroughly, properly, and the students must go through, if it is possible, each and every line of the text. And the students must have time, they must give time, enough time, and devote time to the reading of the text. And particularly for the teachers, I am almost an aged teacher. How many texts have I covered during my, so it is also our duty. We also learn along with the learners. I also learn along with the learner. So not to be a teacher, but a learner along with the learner. And every day I want to learn something new from the learner. If the students allow me, if the students allow the teachers to have that space, that interactive space, they must have questions, not the simple questions, madam, tar wife ki korlo, not that, that sort of questions. The classroom should be exposed, the teachers must expose the students to this rigorous knowledge of the text as practicable, as far as practicable, and must ensure a critical and analytical ability that they should try to develop when they are reading the text, not the summary, not the simple summary of the text. As examiners, when we just examine the papers, the answers, all the answers, most of the answers are a summary, just a gist of the given text. So it is our duty of the teachers to give some inputs to the students, whether it is study material, as Parthapratim has said, that the online materials, they must be selective. The students are not, they don't have that power, whether it is good or bad. And the students, the teachers should supply, and we do that. I know that all of us, most of the teachers, all of us try to give some inputs to the students. If the situation, if the environment is conducive, the given environment is conducive to learning, to teaching, and uh, just imparting knowledge, and an interactive session and an interaction between the students and the teachers. The interactive space must be allowed, just not a one-way drive. The teacher is supposed to she or he sits on the chair and he or she delivers his or her lecture, and just the roles are being called, the students respond, and that's the class over. That is not be done. It must be, there must be an interactive space. The students must be allowed an interactive space, and the teachers must be accessible to them. If we can do that, the text in the way, the text, though the time is very short, the text perhaps chapter wise, perhaps not chapter wise, the important chapters, they can be taught in the classrooms, because it is 1 hour, it is an 1 hour class, and though the classes, the number of classes are very, only 6 classes are allowed, or 10 classes are allowed per week. It is not possible to cover all the texts, but it is left to the students as well as to the teachers to just impart this rigorous knowledge of the texts. Read the texts, and read the texts again and again. With this note, I would like to just call on Ivan, and I am just finishing off with this few words.
Ivan,
Okay.
Ivan, can you?
Thank you, Professor Bhattacharya, and thank you, Professor Banerjee. This is so important and so insistent.
Can you hear me, Olivan? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes, I will be interrupting you for a moment, just to say that apart from Professor Sharmila Majumdar, the chairperson of the UGBOS, there are also
Professor Basudev Chakraborty and Chirantan Sarkar there. Yes.
Yes, I will just ask you to put them in also.
Sure, sure.
Professor Basudev Chakraborty and Professor Chirantan Sarkar are there.
Yes. I would like to love to invite them, and please join in. Basudev and Chirantan.
Okay, go on.
So this is important and incisive suggestion, almost as well as provoking suggestions and reflections from Professor Bhattacharya and Professor Bandyopadhyay. And I think it is important to note that the students, especially the 5th semester students, have to cover up a comparatively lengthy syllabus that includes 3 optional modules. One is on modern British literature, and the other is Indian writing in English, and the third one is literary criticism. I was wondering and inquiring of which 2 of them they would opt at this moment, at this semester, given that we don't have so much time in our hand to cover up that syllabus. So what would be your reflection or suggestions regarding that? Professor Banerjee and Professor Bhattacharya.
If you ask me, I would say that we have been doing a thinking in this line in our department, in my department, and after looking up the contents of all the 3 DSE papers, we found that DSE T1, that is Modern Indian Writing in English, was the most voluminous of the 3 papers. We found that there were at least 4 short stories, and then 2 plays, 1 novel, and about 4 or 5 poems. The other 2 DSE papers were British literature of the post-Second World War period, which we felt to be a necessary part of the study for any student pursuing English honors, and will be someone who will be pursuing post-graduation in the same discipline. And also we found it necessary for some literary criticism, some literary theory which is there in DSE T3 as the first smattering of theory upon the young undergraduate mind. We thought this also was somewhat essential as a platform to post-graduation. So our opinion in our department went for these two papers, the British literature of the post-World War period and the paper on literary criticism. But then it is a choice which must vary department-wise and student-wise even. Somebody who is sincerely interested in Indian writing in English, there has been other papers and parts in papers earlier than this on Indian writing. So somebody is free to make that choice also. My opinion is this.
Thank you, Pasada. I would like to hear from Professor Sharmila Mojumdar how the students can tackle up the women's writing syllabus. This is very diverse. It includes diverse range of essays, articles, texts, autobiographies, and also poems, American poems. And this is for the first time the course in the CBCS course we have included women's writing. If you kindly share some reflection or suggestions regarding this course, this particular module.
Is she there, Onilan? She had logged in.
Yes.
Is she there at present?
Ma'am, please unmute your microphone. Just unmute your microphone. Yes, ma'am.
Well, at the beginning, I must admit that I don't remember the details of the syllabus, but since it's a paper on the first thing I would like to and everybody that in papers there is a reading. Basically, it's for the teachers. So even in women's writing or women's literature, whatever may be the name of the course, the primary, I'm talking first about the teachers, the primary responsibility of the teacher will be to go through all this suggested reading, because as Bijolidi has rightly pointed out and Partho has also mentioned it, it will not be possible for the students to go through all this suggested reading. It's for the teacher to kind of digest it and then hand it out to the students. That's the first thing that I think is the way to go forward. And secondly, actually the second suggestion is born out of the first suggestion, that once the teacher is doing that, that is reading all the suggested materials, we used to call them secondary material, and any other secondary material that the teacher thinks is appropriate, the teacher has to read all these things and make some kind of a summary, some kind of suggestion, some kind of way forward, and maybe some kind of an intellectual teaser for the students. And thereby the diverse background of the writers who have been included in the course, they are from different countries, different cultural backgrounds, maybe even not all of them are English speaking, I'm not too sure, because I have seen Rash Sundari Devi there, so she was not even a native English speaker. So all this diversity can be handed out to the students only by the teachers, and in maybe a physical classroom platform, maybe on this web platform, but it is necessary that the students read the texts and teachers read the suggested reading, and maybe something more than what has been suggested by UGC. So then only they meet on a platform where they can kind of give and receive. And as Bijolidi has pointed out very rightly, that we teach and we learn every day. So interaction begins only when the students are ready to receive and teachers are ready to give. With this note, I hand over the microphone to Anirban.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Now I would like to invite Professor Basudev Chakraborty to join in the discussion, and if you share some reflection or suggestions regarding 5th semester and 3rd semester course, will you please join in the discussion? And Partha, please continue with your discussion and with your suggestions regarding the syllabus and also the exam preparation thing.
Okay. Professor Basudev Chakraborty, are you hearing? Can you hear? Professor Chakraborty, Professor Basudev Chakraborty? Professor Basudev Chakraborty, are you here? You had joined in. Yes, he is here. Professor Basudev Chakraborty, please unmute yourself. Professor Basudev Chakraborty, are you hearing? Can you hear me, Professor Basudev Chakraborty? Yes. Professor Basudev Chakraborty, all of us here are waiting to hear your opinions upon the discussion that has so far. Professor Chakraborty.
Do we take up some questions from the students?
I don't think. Yes, there are other speakers or colleagues from different colleges.
Shurjendra is
yes,
here.
Shurjendu is there, and Shubhayu is perhaps there.
Yes, all are here. If you please join in and share your suggestions and reflections on the course module, course structure, syllabus, and about exam preparations. And then we'll take up some questions from the students.
Thank you, Anirban, and thank you, Partha. I would like to say that regarding from the perspective of the students, there is just one mantra that Bijolidi had given. Read up the text, read up the text, and read up the text. But if we go through the pattern of the syllabus, we will see that there are certain portions of the text which Sharmilaji rightly pointed out cannot be covered by the students. It is impossible to cover within a span of 6 months, and it is for us teachers to read those portions of the texts and then deliver those things to the students. And now one thing regarding that DSC course, I have got to say certain things that Partha pointed out rightly. I think British literature and literary criticisms will be the best options. In the sense, if we see that we have got for CC11, women's studies. And with women's studies, literary criticism will have a very good concoction. And similarly with British literature of the early 20th century, we can have a link with British literature of the post-World War II. As it is, we see that modern Indian writing, it's very cumbersome for the time being. As it is, we are running short of time and we don't know whether we will be having or whether we will have to tackle together the 2nd and 4th semester exams too. And from that perspective, I think that these are the two best options available. And regarding popular literature, it's the most entertaining part. In the sense, I have seen in the course of this syllabus that if a student wants to develop his or her professional skills, the students can completely merge and go back into the syllabus time and again, and he or she will be prepared for any exam. I would just tell to the students that if you want to be entertained, if you want to be knowledgeable, just go back to the syllabus, read up the syllabus. It will take some time, but read up the syllabus. There is no shortcut to that. And with that, I hand over to Anirban and Parthoda. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Shurjendu. And this is exactly the thing that Professor Mojumdar has spelled out. That is, the suggested reading is primarily for the teacher, and the teacher has to study and find out how much and what parts of the suggested reading would come to handy use for the student. For the student is running at a blinding speed through the texts, and it is the teacher's task to rather fashion out the intellectual armory for the student to use upon the texts. Now, part of that is given in the suggested reading, and I think the teachers who are working upon this are free to add to this list of suggested readings, to find out, look up for texts which are closer home, texts which are readily available, texts which are more easily comprehensible, because many of these texts are quite heavy things for students to read and comprehend by themselves. So the suggested reading list is a flexible one, and all of us teachers are free to add to them according to the suitability, according to the need of our particular kind of students with whom we work. That is exactly the same thing. I would once again call up Professor Vasudev Chakraborty. Are you there, Vasudev Chakraborty?
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. We are.
Okay.
You are.
I was facing a glitch over here, so I'm sorry. I couldn't respond early.
Please let us have your opinions.
Okay, thank you for this wonderful opportunity to share my views and to listen to all of you. This time of pandemic has been so stressful for all of us. The first thing, see, I was having a bit of a discussion with some of my colleagues over here that are we going to have our offline classes resuming sometime during the September or not? I'm not quite sure. Do you guys have any idea as to when the offline classes are commencing? That's one thing. That's one thing. The second thing is regarding this online platform that we are all using to communicate to the students. There's a bit of a difficulty in that. My students say, for instance, in my college, I can say that around 45 to 50% of students are unable to access this online classes, which we took up in the month of April, May, June. So what do we do about them? That's the second thing regarding the online classes. And the third thing is, supposing we are, the KU hasn't, the University of Kulani is yet to specify the calendar from which we are officially starting our third semester and fifth semester classes, so to say. So under this situation, we are at a loss, so are our students, as to what are we to do with this huge amount of syllabus which is there. As well, the fifth semester is right in front of me, and it's hugely cumbersome to complete that. Say even from 21st of September, if we start the classes, then also I don't think we'll be able to do any justice to the amount of syllabus which is there right in front of us. Still, we have to cope up. So any thoughts on how are we to disseminate whatever paltry knowledge that we teachers are having to our students, and how to go about it? I'm personally at a loss. My 45% of the students, if they are unable to attend online classes, then whom whom are we teaching? And what about the examinations? How are we to go about that? Now, these are certain things regarding this syllabus and examination, which I would like you all to speak up so that I can get some input as to how we would go about it. Any idea on these things?
Vasudeva, I would like to say certain things. I have also got the same questions in the sense, whether we will be having semester 3, 4, whether we will be having a combined syllabus, because keeping in consideration the time and the huge amount of syllabus, we are all pretty confused. And I will also be highly obliged if Patroda, Bijoli and Shormila can put some input regarding this matter.
And yeah, one more thing. I was having an unofficial talk with some of the officials, higher officials of KU a few days back. And there was also a talk regarding reduction of syllabus. Now, suppose for example, if that is operative, a reduction of syllabus is there, given the paucity of time we are having to complete the entire syllabus, since that is there already there when we know it, then even if we commence classes, we are not sure which part of the syllabus will be, would be there, and which topics are to be, would be stricken out.
Exactly.
We don't know. So I need a bit of clarity on how are we to teach, and what would be the status of examination. At a loss. I mean, at a loss. I'm at a loss.
Exactly. You have voiced the opinion of everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think, is it possible now to cut short the syllabus at this moment, because students have started preparing for the 5th semester?
I don't know. Some were saying that there might be a proposal for reducing a part of the syllabus, since we couldn't begin the classes in proper time, and online hasn't become the official, this thing that we have to teach online exclusively. This is just an option. At the moment, since there is pandemic, we are left with no other choice but to go online.
Yeah. And given the situation, this pandemic situation, the syllabus also appears very lengthy.
Very lengthy. And what about that large section of students who are unable to access this online mode of teaching?
Yes.
Yes.
That's also which is bugging me.
I will seek responses from the house. I think,
coming to the
nobody will have a satisfactory answer.
And I think Professor Shormila Majumdar would share on this, her reflection on this thing, which is very important for us to cover up this lengthy syllabus.
Actually, we are all going blindfolded in these matters.
Yes.
now, see, if you see Parthoda, Vasudeva and Onirban, when you are essentially talking about the lengthy syllabus, keeping in mind the time frame that we have to cover the entire syllabus in the offline mode also, then also it is a bit lengthy.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I would go to the extent of saying that it's not a bit lengthy, it's too lengthy.
Absolutely, Vasudeva. I second your opinion.
It's too dense. Say a portrait, Joyce's portrait. How much time, say any of us who is not familiar with this text, would take to grasp what is to be taught in the class?
Exactly.
We would take at least a month.
Right.
How do we expect then our students to go with this kind of thing? Say Beloved or Joyce, Color Purple, these kind of texts, they're very dense. And we know that.
May I respond?
A detailed reading. Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Well, the first thing is, we have started our classes online from tomorrow, which is we have to notify them. And if I remember correctly, the central government has already said that the classes are till 13th of September. So there is absolutely no possibility having offline classes or bottom-brick classes before first. And about the reduction of syllabus, ICSE and CBSE boards have decided to cut down their syllabus, but
Yeah.
I haven't as yet received any communication from the university authority to consider this. The moment I get a note from the university authority that whether it's possible to cut down on the, I will definitely call for a Board of Studies meeting and seek the opinion of my colleagues, not only about the possibility of cutting down the syllabus, but exactly which texts or which part of the syllabus may be left out for at least this year and this year only. And when the situation changes, improves, alters, we can go back to the original syllabus. But I'm yet to receive any communication from the university authority, and I have spoken to other chairpersons of boards of studies or in other subjects. None of us has received any notice. So I'm not in a position to say what is going to happen, but postgraduate classes are starting from tomorrow on the online platform. This much I can tell.
Anirban, you see, therefore, all of us are moving blindfolded, and the sorry fact that Vasudeva pointed out that 45% of his students are unable to attend classes in the online mode is a fact that we are all coming across to a lower degree. And, from our vantage point, I don't think we have almost anything to do about it. So these are things beyond us. And of course, if there is an official information regarding when the semester exams are to be held or whether syllabuses have to be curtailed, then of course we will have to do a lot of rethinking and reworking. But even that is beyond our official information. So I do not think, since we have any response worth depending upon, I think we can move on to other things which are beyond this online-offline fiasco. Can we move on to something else? We have spoken about the syllabus, and if we need, there are teachers and students here. Do we need to speak on the contents of any paper in particular? The contents are very varied. In some of the papers, there are plenty of texts. In some others, there are just 4 or 5 large texts. And the way of studying them,
Yes.
as well as the ways of setting papers upon them and having examinations, will all probably vary a little from paper to paper. Now, should we now then go on to this part of the discussion, the part concerned with the examinations? Or do we have something to talk about regarding the contents of the papers and the 3 sections within which each paper is divided? The texts, the presentation topics, and suggested.
Yes, yes. I think we can now take up some questions from the students.
Anirban, I have a question.
Sure, sure.
Is there any possibility for holding the examination for second and fourth semester student, or the current second and fourth semester student, and yet to start third and fifth semester preparation?
As far as our official information goes, I think there is no possibility.
Okay. So they
And they will
can,
be marked.
The university has not intimated us, and the government order in this regard had more or less clearly spelled out that students who are in the interim semesters,
intermediate. Okay.
intermediate semesters, will be promoted to the consecutively next semester without exam.
So
And
they
Without,
need,
was about the final semester only,
so
without
they
which
need
we
to
checking.
do
focus
not.
on third and fifth semester now.
Yes, so second and fourth semester students have been taken almost to be taken for granted that they are
Okay.
promoted to the next ones, I think. And I think Professor Mojumdar has a response about this. Madam?
But a notice was circulated a few months back that the second and fourth semester will be merged, and exam will be taken up in January, February. A notice was being
Yes, but
circulated.
was there a university circular on that?
That kind of circulation was there 2 or 3 months back, but I don't know clearly.
Was that a certainty or a probability?
Probability, of course.
Yeah.
I think Professor Mojumdar would tell more clearly about this.
Actually, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So what happened in the postgraduate classes, second semester students are being promoted to the third semester, the classes for which are going to start from tomorrow. And since in the undergraduate course, neither the second nor the fourth semesters are final semesters, I think the UGC guideline is the second to the third and fourth to the fifth will be automatically promoted. The battle is about the final semester examination, which is being fought out with all the dramatics that is possible in the Supreme Court. So they are automatically promoted.
Okay. That's great. Then we'll have to just take up third and fifth semester now. Continue with the third and fifth semester.
Anirban,
Yeah. Yes.
it is about 4:30 by the clock, so that we have about half an hour within which we have to take up questions.
Yes, yes.
And we have not yet gone on to the part of the examination. Whenever they happen and however they happen, in what curtailed manner they happen, we have this responsibility within this workshop schedule to give some idea of the kind of questions, the sort of questions, and the expected ways of answering them. Can we move on to that part of the discussion?
Yes, sure.
In that case, I would once again try to lay out the situation for discussion. We have 3 kinds of questions of 2 marks value, 5 marks, and 10 marks. Now we know that Group A texts are subjected to 2 and 5 mark questions, and Group B texts are earmarked for 10 mark questions. Now, what is to be asked in the 2 mark and 5 mark questions? I feel that the 2 mark questions, this sort of division was also there in the syllabus which we had begun to run in 2016 and which so abruptly and tragically ended in 2018. The 2 mark questions principally seek for information and facts contained in the text, or otherwise it asks for meanings of certain phrases and expressions which are important in the text for some reason or other. So the mode of answering the 2-mark questions should be to supply the information along with that much of information which is relevant to it, which is contextual to it and relevant to it, but within a short space. Maybe I do not know. We can probably set a word limit to that also for 2-mark questions, and I don't think it should be more than 120 or 130 words. This is my personal opinion, of course, which I am offering for discussion. And then we come to the 5-mark questions, where once again information is sought, but along with that, some kind of analysis of a part of the text, an analysis or an explanation, is also sought or expected. Maybe the question on the surface asks for information only, but behind that there is the desire for the exercise of the student's analytical ability or the ability to explicate. And then if we come to the 10-mark questions, and I think here the presentation topics in each paper will be of some relevance. The 10-mark questions are of a different approach. Usually they are. Here what is being tested is the student's ability to comprehend the ideas, rather the ideological framework of the text in question, as well as the student's knowledge of the form of the text, the genre within which it belongs, and also the socio-cultural or historical, political, whatever you say, the background of the text. So the ideas and the ideas contained in the text and their interrelationship within a nexus of ideas which the socio-cultural political background offers or produces. I think these are the areas which are to be tested in the 10-mark questions segment. Now, here again, we can, although it cannot be done formally, but for a suggestion to the students, we may once again here probably set a limit of words, because our practical experience of facing examination papers tells us that students are probably not very clear about what is being sought in a particular type of question and what is to be said in response. We find the same things, the same sentences and same messages delivered for a 2-mark question and a 5-mark question and a 10-mark question. So the particular different orientations of the questions, I think, need to be discussed. Over to you all. I would love to have responses on this.
Yes, very important suggestions and reflections, observation. This is so insightful, and I would like to invite our other teachers, faculties from neighboring colleges to reflect on it, on exam preparation, and of course, and Professor Bijoli Bhattacharya is there. No. If she shares her view on this thing, on these things. Then we can take up some questions from the students, and they are constantly writing in the chat box. So we can take up some of the questions. Shubjenduda, you have something to tell?
Regarding exam preparations, what I would like
Yes.
to say is Parthoda rightly told that the questions have got certain values. They are different, and we are wanting from the students just exactly what needs to be written according to the marks allocated. In the sense, we see that for 2 marks question, say for example, for 2 marks question, many students write half a page and half a page of nonsense. We are not wanting that. We are wanting for 2 marks question to the point answers. The same goes for other 5 and 10 marks question. Most of the time, the 5 marks questions are context based. And for that reason, the students must have a thorough understanding of the text. I saw certain questions in the chat box, and they were asking that how to tackle the huge syllabus. As it is, they are not getting proper online support. It is not possible. And for the teachers also, we are in an handicapped position in the sense we cannot emote the text properly. If we are able to emote a text properly in the physical classroom, then it is most of the time it becomes very clear to the students, but we are not able to do that. In that situation, the students need to read up the texts. They won't understand everything, but they need to read up the text, and whatever is their point of confusion, they need to go back to the teachers and get them clarified. That is what I feel, that they need to get them clarified. And as it is, this COVID has broken down that closed classroom structure. And as COVID has broken down this closed classroom structure, they can take the help of any teacher, but they must clear those doubts that are arising in their minds. That is all I have to say.
So Basudev Das, Shubhayu Das,
Can, can,
Shilpi.
can, can you hear me,
Yes, yes,
Anirban? Okay.
yes, yes. Please,
Okay,
go on.
just a few words. Or I am suddenly reminded of my experience as an examiner about 2 marks questions. We always stress that these 2 marks questions need to be because there are almost it is a scoring part of the entire question paper. And when the paper setters asked to set the question papers, the answers they get, or the examiners they get, sometimes as Shurjendu has rightly pointed out, that sometimes it takes a half page, and almost all of them it is nonsense. This half page is also nonsense, and the students start writing. This line is taken from something like that. This is not, if the question paper, if the paper setter, if the question paper, there is no question, it is not required in the question paper that where is the line taken from. The students need not write it out in that flat way that this line is taken from the author's name, then the name of the text. I am reminded of that, and everyone knows that few years back when I was just doing the head examiner's job, and interestingly, an answer script, there is the student is not wicked, the student is naughty. I would like to call the student naughty, the examinee, because he has written, the line is taken from the question paper. The line is taken from the question paper. Each and every line, each and every answer begins like this, the 2 marks questions, and the examiner has awarded him full marks. When I just now, in retrospection, when I just look back, I think that the examiner is right and the student is right as well, because the question has been taken from the question paper, right? But this system goes on, and as teachers, we would like to just tell the students that you must be precise, contextual, and not elaborate your point just give your answers, keeping in mind the answer that is required by the paper setter or by the question paper, not in this way that this line is taken from and then goes on to say something like that, the personal autobiographical description of the author or the poet. It is not necessary, and we must just as Shurjendu has said, that we must tell the students and give examples, give model questions and answers, circulate model questions and answers to the students so that they can grasp how to write, how to just keep themselves, confine themselves to an informative, precise, concise answer when they are required to answer 2 marks questions. That's all. That's all.
Sir, I have
Thank
a
you.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Ma'am, myself Advita Chatterjee in the Government College, third sem. But ma'am, we read our textbook thoroughly, and now we know about novel, drama, story, or poetry. But
Yes.
ma'am, how we wrote our question answer into exam? How my question answer to attractive in front of our examination?
Yes,
both question for both question I mean 5 or 10, what point we input to do that?
Yes. On 5 marks questions and 10 marks questions, Professor Parthopratim Banerjee, Professor Parthopratim Banerjee has elaborated on the issue. I have taken up just the 2 marks answers, that as teachers we must circulate or we must give some model questions and answers to the students, and the students should be asked, should be given as many questions as possible from each and every text, that is so-called detailed text, and so that they can make their answers ready for themselves and get the answers checked by the teachers. We teachers are we are very much accessible, we are approachable, and you must not be afraid, you must not be afraid of meeting your teachers for queries, and you must clarify them, you must get all your answers checked by the teachers. They will do that for you, whether it is 10 marks questions, whether it is 5 marks questions, or whether it is 2 marks questions. Particularly 2 marks questions, I would like to point out this because this is the most scoring part of the paper. And 10 marks questions, you are supposed to write a lengthy question. Just don't make a summary. Just don't make a summary of the 10 marks question, as Professor Banerjee has rightly pointed out this, that it must be critical. There must be some critical discussion. There must be some analytical discussion. And in this case too, you will have to write your own answers. Please do that. You have to, আমি তোমাদের বলছি, টিচারদের বলবে তোমরা শুধু নিজেরা খাটবে না, তোমরা আমাদের দিয়ে খাটাবে। বারবার বলছি, তোমরা শুধু নিজেরা খাটবে না, আমরা যাব ক্লাসরুমে, জাস্ট উই উইল গিভ লেকচার এন্ড জাস্ট read this. No, not that way. You will be very careful that you must extract the kind of knowledge that you require from your teacher. You must keep your teachers all the time wary of you. They must be scary of you, that oh, আজ ওই স্টুডেন্ট আসবে, বাপরে বাপ, আজকে আমাকে ছাড়বে না। You must be you must be careful about this, and you must do that regularly. The teachers will be conscious, and the teachers will give you time. I know all my colleagues from Nadia, Murshidabad, almost all of my, they are, all of them are junior to me, and I know that they are very, themselves, they are very scholarly, studious, erudite, and they not only enlighten themselves, they also give 100% of themselves in the classroom. My colleague, Professor Surjendu Chakraborty is there. Students are absolutely mad for him, that they don't want to avoid any class of Professor Chakraborty. And if one he remains absent, I can base there. I can, okay, Surjendu, don't stop me, don't interrupt me. I can just, so this is the scenario, and you must make your teachers, the teachers will just make your teachers give all your inputs and get your answers checked by them, not ready-made answers, please, not ready-made answers. You must write of your own. There may be mistakes, আমরাও এখনো ভুল করি, আমরাও ভুল করি, but there may be mistakes, there may be errors, and the teachers are there to get all those errors and just mistakes corrected. So this is how you must just try to write on your own, get those answers checked by your teachers, and that's how. Yes, I will stop. I will stop.
I'm
Thank you, ma'am.
pondering because
But ma'am,
making up
I have a
answers. Let me remind you that Paradise Book 1 has been put up for 2 and 5 mark questions. Now,
Okay.
in that
Yes,
perspective,
this is a lengthy text.
questions and answers would be encyclopedic.
Yes.
So no model probably will easily be made to satisfy all the needs of the student. The student has to study the text in such a way that he or she will be able to remember the information and its context from the text and face the question improperly.
Yes. In spite of these limitations, the students,
Of course,
yes,
there is need of a model.
they should be studious.
But
Yes.
no model can be exhaustive.
Exactly.
If the light
Just
first are put up for short questions,
just model.
no model will be exhaustive. That is what I was trying to point out.
Yes.
I would like to point out one thing, if I may say. I would first request the students to get out of that mindset of preparing and mugging up question and answers. You read up the text, important portions you point out, write down, and you prepare certain blanket notes. There is no model question, as Parthoda told, and please get out of that mindset of preparing question and answers. Because if you
Just umbrella.
If you prepare a stereotypical question answer to a question, even if it doesn't come in the exam, there is a habit of fitting that thing, and then it becomes like a quote-unquote Goru Rochana. Get out of that habit and do some exhaustive reading. And as Bijolidi was telling, that you need to extract knowledge from us. But to extract knowledge, we are always willing to help you all. But to extract knowledge from us, first you must prepare yourself. You cannot just come and extract us. You do not know what to extract out of us. First you prepare yourself, and then we are ready.
No. They would. Yes, I have told them. I have advised them to read the text. Then the questions will crop up.
ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am.
Yes.
বলছি যে then you told me that যে মানে আমরা যতটা খাটবো তার থেকেও বেশি স্যারকে দিয়ে করতে, মানে আমাদের চেক করাতে বলে
Not
হ্যাঁ
clear.
হ্যাঁ
কোশ্চেন অ্যান্সার গুলো।
yes
But now is this situation, I mean,
Good evening, everyone.
হ্যাঁ
Hello.
হ্যাঁ এখন মানে যেরকম পরিস্থিতি একদম করোনার টাইম, মানে এই সময়টা আমরা কি করবো ম্যাম?
Good
Hello.
evening, everyone. This is Shantini Sinha from Maharani Kashishwari College. I have a question. Can I ask?
Yes, yes.
Yes, of course.
Firstly, I congratulate the respected professors who are really helping us. Uh, so my question is that when we get the answers of 10 marks, what are the points we should remember while writing and fabricating the answer so that we can fetch more marks? What should be the points to be kept in mind? Because most of us, they go to the tutors and we get the same type of answer. And as you professors were telling us that it should not be like whatever you get, that question is always going to come to the examination, because sometimes there is a different question and which we do not know how to construct an answer about. And if we do not know the whole text, if we are not aware of the text, most of us do this. So how should we construct our answers, and how should it be fabricated so that we can fetch more marks?
okay পার্থ প্রতিম অনির্বাণ
Yes,
yes
I would respond, but before that, I would need the question to be repeated. I did not get the audio very clear.
how to write
I'm so
and a
sorry.
10 marks
I want
question
to know
How
what
to write a 10-mark question?
are the points
10 marks
should
question
we yes sir, what are the points should we keep in our mind while writing, constructing the 10 marks answer that will help us to fetch more marks?
Now you see,
That is my question.
yes, I got your point. Every text offers up a set of ideas which are interacting within the text. Now you need, through reading the text, to understand the dynamic network of ideas working within the text. And that understanding will lead you to, supported by theoretical inputs from the suggested reading, that would lead you to an understanding of the ideological position of the text within a society or within a literary tradition. That understanding is something which you need to use in a 10-mark answer, because a 10-mark question intends to lead you to a discussion of ideas in the text. Now, it mentions a certain issue or an idea very often, or asks you to examine the text as a formal structure, or asks you to examine the importance of a certain idea in the text in the context of the society in which the author was living. Such sorts of ideological issues are the things to which the question leads you. You need to understand from the question exactly the sort of idea which the question seeks to be discussed. And then you are supposed to use your understanding of the ideological network in the text to answer this. Formally, the 10-mark question takes the shape of a short essay, of which there is an introduction. The introduction should be designed so as to place the text within its context. That is, a context created of other texts or social, cultural, political factors which leads up to the text. And then after the general introduction, placing the text in an ideological context, you need to enter the text and use the text closely, use the text to bring out the idea that is sought in the question. And you need the text, need to use the text, that is, to substantiate the idea and its interrelationship with other ideas, and the way in which the idea has been expressed through the form of the text, whether it is a novel or a poem or whatever. And then finally, in the third section, you need to come to a conclusion where you have already substantiated, rather established the idea, and the idea has been proved to occupy and play a significant role within the text. And then you relate the idea rising out of the text to other ideas recurrent in that society or within that literary tradition. I suppose that is the task before you when you address a 10-mark question. Preparing for such a 10-mark question, you need to read the text carefully and locate the ideas and understand the relationship of ideas within the text. I do not know whether this answer helps you, but this is what I have to say.
My question, really thankful.
Okay.
I have a suggestion for students. Please resist the temptation of writing everything you learned, because it would not help. I know it's hard to resist the temptation, but you should practice it.
Anirban, can you hear?
Yes. Do we take
Yes,
up
then,
one more question from the audience, from the student participants?
Yes.
Sripurna Mukherjee wrote down here in the chat box. Sripurna, are you here? Could you unmute your microphone and
Yes,
forward
sir.
your question? Yes, please. Please go on.
Sir, ma'am has told us that we need to read the text thoroughly. So we are here at home in this pandemic situation. So we aren't even having offline teaching process. So we aren't even known to those texts totally. How can we complete our total syllabus within 3 or 4 months when we are not having totally how much we should have? We are not having this totally.
Yes, I understand. And
how we can complete our syllabus within these 3 or 4 months when we are not having offline process? How can we do this ourselves? Thank you.
Yes. I understand your situation and I sympathize with you totally. But you see, students and teachers at both ends of this process are equally helpless almost. The little that we can do is being done through the online process, and not that online process is accessible to all of us. We know that. So we know we are working under severe constraints, but yet we must do as much as we can. Now, there is one obverse of this offline process going offline, really. The online process gives us a lot of time at home. So during this, plenty of our everyday occupations are suspended, and students have a lot of time at home to study the texts by themselves. Now, studying them by themselves brings a lot of difficulty. It opens really a Pandora's box, kind of. But then, teachers are available online over telephone and other resources, and you must make use of such online availability of teachers and interrupt them, as Bijolidi was saying, pester them and extract from them whatever you find difficult or incomprehensible while reading the texts at home. But you see, we have to make do with this. The offline mode was, of course, much more interactive, much more easier for both of us, both teachers and students. But what can we do other than waiting for government orders and a safe situation, really safe situation, for the offline mode to resume? What else can we do? I admit that it is extremely difficult for the student right now. But make use of the little online resources that you have. And let me say you this, that make use of the internet. Plenty of resources are there on the internet today, which we did not have in our student days. That is a boon. And while using the internet, be cautious. Because this CBCS syllabus that we are following now is a pan-Indian syllabus. It is being followed more or less in the same shape across universities in India, everywhere in the country. And therefore, there is a whole nationwide network of book producers and publishers and sellers and internet bloggers and all who are uploading material on the syllabus. And not all of that material is dependable. There are strange, bizarre things. So while using these online resources, I would request you to remain in guidance of under the guidance of your teachers, the teachers in your colleges. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
And
thank you, Patada. And we are thankful and grateful to our respected principal, ma'am, Dr. Chandrima Bhattacharya, who has been with us from the very opening day. Thank you so much, ma'am. And we are also thankful to Sumit Rai, who performed magic great through his patience, the technical assistant. And we are also thankful and grateful to Professor Shormila Majumdar, faculty at the Department of English. With much regards and thanks to Professor Partha Bandyopadhyay, Professor Bijoli Bhattacharya, Professor Surjendu Chakraborty, Professor Basudev Chakraborty, Professor Shilpi Bosak, Professor Shubhay Chakraborty, Professor Chirantan Sarkar, and all the faculties from neighboring colleges. Thank you so much, and thank you all the student participants, all the researchers, doctoral fellows, and the faculties. So over to Professor Momita Vishwas.
Good afternoon to everyone. This is the official ending of our 7-day web workshop on women's writing and popular literature. As our HOD has pointed out, Dr. Chandrima Bhattacharya, respected principal of Santipur College, has conveyed her well wishes and sent a keynote. Let me share her congratulatory note with our eminent guest. Dr. Bhattacharya is extremely glad knowing that such a workshop is conducted by Department of English, Santipur College. I am quoting a few lines from that keynote. She says, "This workshop has increased pride of our college. I convey my heartiest thanks to all the teachers and those who have raised their helping hands to conduct this web seminar, especially to HOD Dr. Anirban students, professors, and the distinguished speakers who have spent their valuable time to ensure success of this workshop. Department of English of Santipur College and the members of workshop team are fascinated to our eminent resource person, Professor Bijali Bhattacharya, Professor Shormila Majumdar, Professor Partha Pratim Bandopadhyay, who have shared their experience and expertise to resolve our queries. Such a fruitful discussion has addressed issues of students, learners, as well as faculty members with utmost care and patience. We are extremely grateful for this fascinating and engaging discussion. Being a young teacher, I can say this discussion has encouraged me to create a better and more productive teaching and learning interface. We thank Professor Shudendu Chakraborty, Professor Vasudev Chakraborty, Professor Shilpi Boshak, and other eminent faculty members for their reflections and thoughts on syllabus management in this time of pandemic. On behalf of Organizing Committee of IQAC and Department of English of Santipur College, we thank our distinguished resource persons for such thorough, academically engaging and helpful discussions. We express our sincerest gratitude to all the distinguished professors, educators who have spent their precious time with us and enriched this workshop. We also thank all the participants, faculty members, and research scholars who have been with us throughout this entire workshop. It is our heartfelt request to all the participants to submit a write-up as an assignment at the end of this workshop. Based on their performance, their certificate will be issued. In this case, students have to submit a write-up, preferably a critical note on any text covered in this workshop. Faculty members share reflections or suggestion or any critical or creative analysis on any materials covered in this workshop within the specified time limit via email. Thank you all. Please participate in our future endeavor like this. Wishing all of you best of luck. Over to you, Dr. Bhattacharya.
Thank you, Momita. Thank you very much. And I request all the student participants, you please send in your write-ups, critical notes on the text that have been discussed here by 7 September. And I would request, it would be very great, absolutely great, if the faculties from neighboring colleges and faculties across the country, the doctoral fellows, you can send in your write-ups on the text or something critical or creative related to the text discussed here. By 7 September, we would publish as ebook and we'll send you in through via your mail at our earliest convenience. So we express our thankfulness to our convener of the seminar, Professor Momita Vishwas. We are thankful to all the departmental colleagues, Professor Sanjay Devnath, Professor Ayan Kumar Khan, Professor Sumona Ghosh, Professor Shubhankar Ghosh, and I am thankful to Professor Subrata Rai, who has been here with us from the very opening day, and I am also thankful to the coordinator of IQAC, Internal Quality Assurance Cell, Dr. Atrey Pal. I am thankful to Dr. Dipankar Bhattacharya, seminar convener, seminar committee of the college. We are also thankful to Dr. Sudip Kumar Chattopadhyay, Teachers Council Secretary, and all the teaching and non-teaching staff of the college. And with this thank you note, we are concluding this 7-day web workshop. We'll meet again in another time. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.